I'd like to thank Tom and the Tea Party, and especially Ann, for inviting me and making an opportunity for me to speak to all of you. I've spoken to some of you before. My name is Ron Tamburrino, and I'm running for 11th District Court of Appeals Judge. The 11th District Court of Appeals is the appellate court in Ohio that hears appeals from trial courts in Portage, Geauga, Lake, Trumbull, and Ashtabula counties. There are 5 judges on the Court of Appeals. They sit on panels of 3 at a time to hear cases. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I graduated from the University of Akron with a degree in fire science and a degree in technical education in 1980. I was interested in fire science and began working as an insurance fraud and arson investigator when I was still in undergraduate school. I graduated from undergraduate school and went to law school, continued to dabble in the insurance fraud investigation business, and by the time I graduated from law school, I had started my own insurance fraud investigation business, and I also opened my private practice of law in Canton, Ohio. I did civil defense. I had a lot of insurance company clients because of my relationships in the investigation business. I did criminal defense both at the state level and the federal trial level. I did appellate work, and at the time I was the only solo practitioner to have successfully defended to a resolution a civil class action case in Stark County. At the end of my 5 years in private practice as a sole practitioner, I went to work for the Sherwin-Williams Company in Cleveland, Ohio. I got affiliated with some attorneys at the Sherwin-Williams Company as a result of a $160 million warehouse fire at one of the company's warehouses in Dayton, Ohio. And I got to know the attorneys better, and they asked me to come to the company and work for Sherwin-Williams, so I did that. I worked for Sherwin-Williams for 26 years, assuming positions of increasing responsibility. The last 7 years, I was in charge of all of the trials and appeals for the company. Of course, I had a great staff of in-house attorneys and paralegals and administrators, and we managed hundreds of outside counsel. I also defended and managed cases in some international forums. Of course, the breadth of experience, both in private practice and at the Sherwin-Williams Company, has positioned me well to be an appellate judge. I've handled and been involved with more cases than most attorneys would be involved with in several lifetimes. And it's just because of the volume. I retired on April 30th. I'm a mediator now, focusing my mediation practice on large fire loss cases. I'm married to my wife, Leanne. We were married 21 years ago. We have 6 children. We live on an operating farm in Trumbull Township, which is in Ashtabula County. I'm an elected public official. I'm serving my 3rd term as a township trustee in Trumbull Township. And I'm also a director of Northwest Ambulance District, which is an ambulance district that serves 5 communities in northwestern Ashtabula County. Now, some people have asked, why are you running for a Court of Appeals position? You're retired, and you've got your mediation practice, and I'm also doing some pro bono work, which is a Latin word for providing free legal services to people in need. The answer to the question, why am I running for appellate judge, is because I've had enough, and I think I can make a difference. The biggest issue with the 11th District Court of Appeals is their lack of diligence in issuing decisions on time. There are 12 courts of appeals in Ohio. In 2007, the 11th District Court of Appeals was second of the 12 districts in terms of finalizing their cases within the time periods prescribed by the Ohio Supreme Court. Since 2007, the 11th District Court of Appeals has dropped to 7th or 8th, depending on whether you count cases of original jurisdiction. But that means the 11th District Court of Appeals is going backwards. I own property in the 11th District. I know people in the 11th District. My wife and I run small businesses in the 11th District. My wife is the president of the nonprofit Chardon Theater, which is in Chardon, Ohio. That's in the 11th District. And I see my friends and neighbors every day being subjected to a decline in services that are being paid for by their tax dollars. And I wanted to do something about it. So the first thing that I think we need to do is understand that there's a simple solution to the problem of not turning opinions out as quickly as the standards of the Ohio Supreme Court require. All of you have done it. Anyone who's been in business, anyone who's had responsibilities around their house, anyone who's gone to school understands the answer. The answer is you have to work harder. You have to work longer hours. You can't play golf when you should be working. If your work's not done, don't get on committees. Don't ask to be appointed to commissions. Don't try to live the fat life. Sit your butt down in a chair and do your job. That's what you're getting paid to do. And they're not doing it. And I look forward to an opportunity when elected to the Court of Appeals to make a dent. I think the 11th District Court of Appeals should be first out of the 12 District Courts of Appeals. Another issue that I see with the management of the 11th District Court of Appeals that concerns me is that, of course, there are 5 judges who are elected. But each judge has 2 staff attorneys. There are administrators. There are other staff members. And those are all public jobs. When one of those jobs comes open, I never see a posting for a job opening. Those jobs, when they come open, should be posted publicly, so attorneys who may be interested in applying for that job are aware of it and have an opportunity to express an interest. The staff job's the same thing. There are people in this room who might be interested in a staff job at the 11th District Court of Appeals, or you may have friends or relatives who might be interested in that job. But if the management of the Court of Appeals, which are the judges, particularly the presiding and administrative judge that I'm running against, don't bother posting those jobs, no one knows that they're available. So what happens is, what has happened recently? He promoted his secretary to a law clerk position. So even though she's not an attorney, she's performing quasi-attorney-like responsibilities, and he backfilled her secretary job with her sister. Those are issues that scream out for some moderation, and I'm prepared to address those issues, and I can say that the right way to fill jobs in any public forum, it doesn't matter whether it's the Court of Appeals or the sewer department or the road department of a city or a township or anything else, any public job, those jobs should be posted so anyone who may have an interest has an opportunity to express that interest and be interviewed for the job. The other issue that I think we can vastly improve on with the 11th District Court of Appeals is the budget. How many people here have ever seen the budget for any court? I don't see any hands. You can't find the budget for the 11th District Court of Appeals. That budget should be posted on the Court of Appeals website. There is obviously non-discretionary spending. The salaries of the judges are set by statute. That would be an item of non-discretionary spending. But discretionary spending, those are issues that the public should get to look at, because you might look at that budget and say, hey, I understand a little bit about this function that the Court of Appeals performs as a business function. Okay? And I understand that they're spending X dollars, and I think they can get that service or buy those items that they're buying for a cheaper price, and you could speak your voice and taxpayers would save money. I don't think there's anything wrong with opening up the drapes and letting a little sunshine into the budget of the 11th District Court of Appeals. And if elected, that's another issue that I'd like to address. The last thing that I think needs to be addressed in the Court of Appeals is the manner in which the Court of Appeals holds itself out to the public. I think there needs to be more community outreach. The court needs to be more open to the public, both with access to the court without an attorney. You can go to a small claims court or other municipal courts and file a lawsuit without an attorney. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to go to the Court of Appeals without an attorney. The Court of Appeals needs to help people file their appeals if they're indigent or can't afford an attorney. The second thing that I think the court needs to do in terms of access is make sure that if any aggrieved party asks for their day in the Court of Appeals, that they not be turned away. There are too many times when the Court of Appeals acts like an elitist organization instead of accepting appeals and ruling on the appeals. The Court of Appeals belongs to the people. The people need to know what's going on with the finances. They need to know what's going on with the hiring. They need to know what's going on with access to the Court of Appeals. So I'd appreciate it in November if you have an opportunity to vote for me. My name is Ron Tamburrino. I'm running for 11th District Court of Appeals. I've got signs in the back and some literature, and I'll be standing around afterwards to answer any questions for anyone. Thank you.